One thing that many people doing this, or almost anything, would tell you, what they won't tell you is that there's a lot of imposter syndrome that you have to overcome. So when you're going through all that, you're starting a business, there's always that thing of not being very sure. Am I really lying to myself? Did I just make a mistake leaving my job? There are all of those things. So when I was writing that book, I realized, what, I was just fine. I was okay. I had it under control. I had direction. I had purpose, and I was just following my purpose. And when you follow your purpose, everything ends up working well. I'm a bit controversial when it comes to the topic of networking. In that, many people want to substitute marketing for networking. A business must thrive on strangers, on people you don't know. For example, people don't go to ShopRite because they know the owner of ShopRite, they are connected to the owner of ShopRite. They just go there because ShopRite has what they need. So I think people must prioritize, entrepreneurs must prioritize, honing their marketing and sales skill. Because the people who are going to save your business and uplift your business are strangers, the customers who are coming to you because you have the best product. Your customer service is very, very good, and your marketing is on point. It doesn't matter if you have got 50 enemies out there. It doesn't matter if you don't even have any friends. But if your marketing is on point, your product is on point, your business is going to thrive.
And when you decide now to quit your job and go full-time into business, did you face any backlash from your friends or family?
Yes. I don't think I met or encountered anyone who encouraged me to go ahead with my crazy plan. I remember my father, for example, told me, you know what, in 4 years' time, your friends are going to have 4 years' experience and you'll be nowhere because you'd have stayed away from work for 4 years. Because for him, I think he was totally convinced this is bullshit, it's not going to work. And I think a lot of my friends, the ones that I was in touch with, thought I was being very adventurous, being very crazy, and all of that. So I think it was a lonely time. That is why I think later on, when things didn't work out at some point, it was very hard to ask for help.
Hello and welcome to the Money and People podcast, the show where we connect the dots between financial success and the power of human capital. Today on the show, we are joined by Mr. Harrison Mwenda, who is going to be discussing the lessons that he has learned from 9 years of entrepreneurship. Okay? So now today we are not going to just talk about the fancy and bougie side of entrepreneurship. We're going to go deep into learn the different seasons and phases that Harrison went through in building his business. Harrison, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and I'm very excited, very ready to talk about the rough parts of entrepreneurship. I was actually supposed to come in overalls, drenched in grease and
Stop
oil.
scaring people.
I think that would have been appropriate. But anyway, we're here and we'll make do with what we have.
Okay, that's great. And to just hit it off, for those people who don't know you, who is Harrison Mwenda?
Harrison Mwenda is a husband, a father, a person who's very enthusiastic about life, and a lot of other things, including entrepreneurship, lifting people up, writing, sports, hiking, and he finds a way to fuse all those things together in order to save mankind. So I've written several books, and most of my writings in the genre of personal development and entrepreneurship, and most of the things I write about stem from my life as an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur going to 10 years now in April, and that has given me a lot of experiences that I write about so that I can help people, because that's one of the things that I'm passionate about. Sometimes I also mention to say my professional background is in engineering. I have a bachelor's degree in electrical and electronics engineering, and I'm just submitting my thesis so that I can get my master's in business administration. So
Okay.
that's my background in terms of professional background and the rest.
Okay. So, a little bit of icebreakers before we come back to your journey from what you've explained. From your early entrepreneurial days, what's one thing that still makes you smile or shake your head when you think about it?
That would be a time when the BBC, like the whole BBC from the UK, came to do an interview about us and what we were doing. So they came at a time when we were very broke. We had just been evicted like about 5 months before. We had lost our office. We had
Mm-hmm.
lost everything, and we didn't even have where to work from. So like we were on, like, that's what you would call rock bottom. So I remember calling a friend to say, you know what, you are a bachelor. Okay, there's this friend I had living a very, very pure bachelor life.
Yeah.
He was renting this big house.
Mm.
Okay, it was big to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just using one bedroom. So the living room was empty. And I was like, you know what, let me use this living room just to put a setup of a company. Let me find
Mm.
desks and all of
Mm.
those things. And yeah, we ended up doing that. And then the BBC were there and we had a very good interview. We taught them about 3D printing, and we had one or two machines to show them, to demonstrate. And then that interview um, went all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah, so it makes me happy because, you know what, nobody knew that's what was happening. We were um, in a very bad place.
I can imagine. How did
Yes,
the BBC come to interview you when your business was at rock bottom?
because, you know, this is one other thing. Usually all of these businesses running have issues happening, and you only hear about them when, you know, things get to the worst.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So even before that, we used to talk about our business. No, we are trying to do innovation. We are trying to be innovative. We are in this creative space. But what was happening in the background, as I will probably um, talk about a bit more
Yeah.
later on,
Yeah.
was, you know, things weren't working out. We were piling up debt, and then eventually we got evicted. We lost our place. I lost most of my things. There was all that, but the company had to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in that phase, because I think I think it's one, you could define it as being homeless somehow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I found myself staying with a friend.
Mm.
I used to live with a friend. I lived with him for a few months, for about 5 months. I was sleeping in his living room. I just had a fleece blanket.
Yeah.
But even when that was happening, we had no office. I would go to the library in town center.
Yeah.
So I would walk from Kamwala to town center. I would be working on my computer, and the company kept on moving just like that, but we had no
Yeah.
office. And
Okay.
then, you know, eventually one dot led to another. There's somebody who knew the BBC, and the BBC were coming to interview startups and all of those things. So we found
Ah.
ourselves on that program, and we did the interview. So this
Okay.
time, it makes me laugh. Like, oh, the
Yeah.
BBC actually came, world stage. We have all this high-profile interview happening, and we're in a pile of debt, and they don't know about it. Yeah.
Amazing. That's really amazing. Your story sounds interesting. If entrepreneurship was a movie genre, what would your personal journey be? Would it be a comedy, a thriller, action, drama, and why?
I think not one genre would be enough
Yeah.
to describe the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So I would say comedy drama.
Okay.
Like comedy drama, like I don't know if you have watched. There's this famous, it's a very popular movie entitled Three Idiots.
Yes.
So Three Idiots is a very hilarious movie, but
Yeah.
it has got a lot of very tense, very dramatic, very touching episodes in the
Yeah.
same movie. I think entrepreneurship is like that. You're going
Yeah.
to have a lot of situations that are going to test you mentally, that are going to make you cry or almost cry. But again, the way things turn out sometimes, you can't help but laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't help but be happy and humorous about it. And I guess that's what makes you um, continue moving on even when the bad things happen.
Okay. That's been an interesting way to break the ice. So now getting back to the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned how you studied for electrical engineering. Um, just tell me a little bit about the journey. How did you come to from obviously being a university graduate and then to deciding to go into entrepreneurship? How did we get to that journey? Because I know most times when people go to university, they want to start looking for jobs. Did you look for a job? Did you find a job? Did you quit a job? Or did you just move straight from graduating uni into entrepreneurship? So how did you start?
One thing that mm, people say about university is it's a place where you discover yourself.
Yeah.
People go to university a certain type of person and they graduate a certain type of person. Many
Yeah.
people graduate religious people, many people stop being religious. For me, I went to university as somebody who had no idea about entrepreneurship. I grew up in circles where people were civil servants, people were doing this and that, but not entrepreneurship. I don't remember having a close example in the family, for example, or in the neighborhood of an entrepreneur, somebody to say, you know what, Uncle John or Fred or whoever has a business or has a company, and there wasn't any of that. So I went to university with a plan to get a distinction and become a professor
Mm.
and the things like that. And that idea was reinforced when I saw how lecturers were living. They were driving big cars and all of that. And I was like, you know what, that's the life I want to live. Until one point, I think I was in fourth year, I was studying for the sessional exams. And then there was this guy who was moving around campus sticking posters to say thesis printing services at C whatever, his hostel room. And then I looked at him, I was like, you know what, we are all busy, we are panicking trying to pass our exams, and then this guy is just moving around advertising his business. He's obviously not serious with life. But you know what, upon reflection, I was like, you know what, when we are done with school, we graduate, maybe to take me 2 years or so to find a job. But this guy will be busy with his business. Maybe his business would have boomed. Maybe I might be knocking on his door to even ask for a job. So I think that kind of distracted me. That
Yeah.
is the time when I started thinking about entrepreneurship seriously. And then fast forward, I graduated. But again, there's that thing where you have spent 5 years at university and the whole of your life preparing yourself to test what the salary is all
Mm-hmm.
about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I wanted. I wanted that itch to go away, to say,
Mm-hmm.
how does it feel to get paid?
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to have a boss and all of those things? So I was lucky to find a job. First of all, I was a tutor in Indola at Zamteo College.
Okay.
Then I became a networks engineer with Huawei.
Okay.
So that was a very, very good job. I really loved it. It made me travel a lot around Zambia. So almost the whole Zambia, just except two provinces. So,
Okay.
yeah, so we really traveled a lot. Yeah, but eventually it all came back. Even when I was working there, I was like, you know what? Business, 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 business. And then a point came when I said, okay, this is it. I'm 25. It's now or never.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I quit, and then started opened the company, and went in there not knowing what would happen, but very very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, very 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 positive. I think it's good when you're at that age because you're very naive
Yeah.
and no one can talk you out of what you have convinced yourself about, and you are 100% convinced everything is going to work out. So I was in that space. I didn't worry about anything. I was very convinced my idea would work out, would be very rich, would be millionaires, all of those things, would employ 1,000 people.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like that.
Okay. So you were not initially doing it side by side with your job. You just went cold turkey and quit and said, I'm going full time into this.
Yes, and that's because jobs differ, especially, for example, if we consider the telecoms industry or engineering in general. Many people misunderstand the engineering fraternity or industry, or many people don't really know a lot about it. So one thing is that it's very very busy, especially in telecoms. You go to work at 7, and then you're going to knock off at 7 a.m. You knock off at 7 p.m., for example. If you are one of the junior engineers, for example, you'll be traveling a lot. Like I would spend like half of the month on the road, different parts of Zambia. I would be
Okay.
in northern province today. The following day I would be in southern province. There wasn't any time for you to do something on the side.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd always be tired, exhausted, or not in Lusaka.
I hear you. And when you decide now to quit your job and go full time into business, did you face any backlash from your friends or family, just or any reservations about, okay, you've left a stable income? Uh, did you face any backlash? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Yes, I don't think I met or encountered anyone who
Mm-hmm.
encouraged me to go ahead with my crazy plan. I remember my father, for example, told me, you know what, in 4 years' time, your friends are going to have 4 years' experience and you'll be nowhere because you'd have stayed away from work for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because for him, I think he was totally convinced this is bullshit. It's not going to
It's
work.
going
You're
to
just
fail.
yeah. And I think a lot of my friends, the ones that I was in touch with, thought I was being very adventurous, being very crazy, and all of that. So I think it was a lonely time. That is why I think later on, when things didn't work out at some point, it was very hard to ask for help from any other person because all of those people were the ones that were like talking you out of going that direction.
Okay. And so when you decide to go into entrepreneurship, you went into 3D printing.
No.
What was the journey?
So at that point, remember I'm coming from an engineering background, electrical engineering, and before that, even before I was an engineer, I have always grown up in the realm of technology. I've always been a tech uh, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been that guy tinkering with technology, even from a very young age.
Yeah.
I remember when I was growing up in Ndola, I was always topping in the jets competitions, doing all these things, creating robots and all. Even at CBU, one of my projects was a robot. So I wanted to do something that was within that sphere of interest.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea was to start manufacturing rechargeable lights. So I had designed all the circuits for that, the manufacturing process. Actually, it doesn't even take a lot. It sounds complicated to someone who's not in that field, but it's very, very easy,
Okay.
especially the electronic part if you're an engineer. But what I was blank about was the casings, the plastic casings for that product. And I assumed, there are so many plastic manufacturing companies in Zambia. So I would use those, for example, to make the casings for my product. But it turned out, plastic is another universe which I did not know about. There are different types of plastics that don't go in certain machines and all of those complicated issues. So it was very, very hard for me to, get partnership with a plastic company to make the casings. And then time was passing, we weren't producing, and we were burning money. And this is money that wasn't a lot. Mostly it was money that I got while I was working. So I was lucky to have gotten a small something after I left work, and obviously I was getting paid. So there was all that. So money finished, and now you're piling up on rentals, and production isn't starting. So one thing that we had was later on was a 3D printer. There's one person that um, I explained the predicament I was in, and then he was like, "Have you ever heard about 3D printing? No, this is a machine that can actually make the plastic casings for you, and it's not very, very expensive." So we used the last ounce of money that we had to purchase a 3D printer in order for us to make casings for our product. Yes, but eventually, the whole thing was slow. 3D printing is a very, very slow process, so you can't. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense in terms of economies of scale and things like that. And then before we knew it, we piled up arrears in rentals. We had debt, so we had to get evicted.
Oh no.
And I remember we were operating from a flat. So I was using that flat as offices, and one of the bedrooms was where I used to live. So in the next door flat, there was somebody who had arrears with rentals, and we saw what they did to him. Like they grabbed all his property. I don't know
no.
if yeah. So I was like, oh, we are next.
Yeah.
So one night I had to sneak out the most important things. So one of the things I sneaked out of the house was a 3D printer. So the landlady used to live at the same place. So I had to be very, very discreet when everyone was sleeping. So yeah. So that is all we had. That same 3D printer when all that happened. And then, so it's that thing where your idea has failed. It's been about a year and a half. You're not yet into production. You don't have any of your bulbs. Maybe you have samples that you've made, very good samples, but you haven't gotten any investment and all of those things. So I told my friend, my business partner, you know what? Let's restart with this same 3D printer that we have. This is where our new beginning lies. He was skeptical about it, but I convinced him, you know what, let's just try. So we put out an advert, 3D printing services for sale. It had never been done before, and we didn't know what to expect. And to our surprise, what we got the most were requests by companies, big organizations for scale models. So we would have government agencies saying, you know what, the president of this country is coming. We need to show them a big model of this project that we have. So can you do a scale model for us? And those requests started piling up, and we didn't even know what scale models were. We didn't know it was an industry. We didn't know many organizations in Zambia get those at a professional standard from South Africa or China, for example. So it's a very important marketing collateral, but mostly it's done from China or South Africa at a certain standard. So we didn't know that, and it's kind of a lucrative market also. So that is how we pivoted and say, oh, okay, good, let's try this scale model thing. And then eventually it ended up being one of the things that ended up, it ended up being very lucrative for us eventually. So that's what we have been doing, I think, for several years now. So I've been doing the same 3D printing and the same scale models, and we also do laser cutting and engraving and things that fall within those lines. But the whole thing started with trying to do lights.
Oh wow. And so you've never gone back to the whole lights project after making it in 3D printing.
I plan to do that
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
But for now, I think it doesn't really make sense, because you know what, China can make those extremely cheaply than you
Yeah.
making them here.
Yeah.
And it will be very hard for you to compete with those products that are coming from China and done very, very cheaply and flooding the market. So it doesn't make a lot of sense economically and business wise. So no wonder we are very slow in going that direction again. But it would be something that would want to do later
Okay.
on.
And so now you pivoting into 3D printing and getting requests to do these scale models. You said initially you didn't even know how to go about.
Nothing,
So how
nothing.
did you teach yourselves? How did you deliver on those requests?
Well, I think it's a bad thing sometimes to be very naive and very convinced you can do something, but sometimes it's a very, very good thing. So even at that point, we just said yes, we can do it. And I remember one of the early deals was with the government ministry, and they gave us the tender to do that, and we failed lamentably.
Oh my.
Like we failed lamentably. So one thing that we discovered was that the printer that we had was not suitable for such jobs. So we had to buy better, more expensive machines, for example. So from that failure, we learned something, and we iterated. Next deal came, we didn't perform very well. Next deal came, didn't perform very well, but eventually we became experts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to just being determined and audacious, because I've seen most entrepreneurs would have decided, oh no, maybe this is not the correct business space for me to be in upon that first failure. But I mean, you kept pushing and you kept going for it. So that really shows just how much determination and passion that you had. Now, when we talk about times when you were battling to meet financial obligations like paying your rentals, and when you now had to buy a different machine, how did you finance that? Because I know you mentioned initially you did have some funds from your previous job, but I'm sure at some point they got depleted. That's why you found yourselves in a situation where you were struggling financially. But how did you ever have to get into debt financing to support your business, or how did you get back up?
There is one book that I read at some point entitled The Customer Funded Business.
Okay.
And what this book talks about is that there are many ways in which the customer can be the funder of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the illustrations that it gives is number one, for example, the upfront payment
Mm-hmm.
method,
Mm-hmm.
where a customer gives you an upfront payment before you deliver.
But would they give you an upfront payment if they haven't even like seen
So
your works? Like, if I'm guessing you were going into uh maybe they haven't seen a specific type of model that they're requesting you to do. How did you get them to trust that if they pay you upfront you would deliver?
I think that all hinges with your ability to sell and sound convincing,
Okay.
blending it with honesty,
Yeah.
and also there's also an element of luck. I
Yeah.
think there's also an element of luck. So we were lucky to have people, for example, so I'm giving an example like the first deal that I'm talking about. There's somebody that knew us like personally to say, these
Oh,
guys, we knew them from CBU. Yeah, this guy
okay.
is an engineer.
Yeah.
Okay, so he can't disappoint. He can do the job.
Okay.
So there is that. Yeah. Sometimes there is just a customer that comes, desperately. You know what? We need this thing in 2 days' time. Okay, no questions asked, and they trust you, and they're also taking a risk.
Mm.
So that also happens in
Okay.
such situations. So there are many scenarios where that works to your advantage, but that's one of the things, even for those that are watching and you're looking for capital. Those are some of the practical ways in which you can kickstart your business without getting any loan or getting any investment, because we tried to do that also, but we couldn't, because unlike the customers I'm talking about, banks are careful. They follow procedure.
Yeah.
They do their homework, and
Yeah.
if you're just a startup that's starting, forget about it. No one is
Yeah.
going to give you money.
Yeah, I hear you. And through you had the financial pressure, you came out of it, and you then realize that this is something that is worth documenting. Tell me the thought process behind writing your book.
Mm, I think I think you must be talking about my recent book, From
Yes.
Concept to Company.
Yes.
So when I looked back and realized, you know what, I've been doing this for 9 years now, and it will be 10 years soon. And after, I think I met people who were much younger than me who were trying to go into business. Yeah. So I thought, I realized there was that importance in documenting some of these things so that they could be helpful for such people. And not just people who are younger. You don't have to be younger than me or anything. You could even be 50 years old and you've never started a business before and you're trying to go into business. I think we need stories to be told in the Zambian setup,
Yeah.
in the Zambian ecosystem, with local examples and local scenarios, because most of the material that's out there, even for me, when I was trying to look for material that could help me, because I didn't have a lot of mentors around, most of the material was coming from the United States, for example, from Singapore, from the UK, where they have venture capital firms in abundance. You have got a lot of angel investors. There's that culture there.
Yeah.
But here in Zambia, for example, it's that culture isn't. It's just starting.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you go to your uncle, if you are even lucky to have such an uncle, to invest in your business, they want their money back in 3 months.
Yes.
Yeah, but your business will need 3 years, for example, for it to be at a level where it can pay back. So that necessitate, I found the necessity for that because of all of those things.
Okay. When you were writing this last book, what did you learn about yourself that you probably didn't realize while you were living through the ups and downs of your journey?
You know, one thing that many people doing this, or almost anything, would tell you, what they won't tell you is that there's a lot of imposter syndrome that you have to overcome. So when you're going through all that, you're starting a business, there's always that thing of not being very sure. Am I really lying to myself? Did I just make a mistake leaving my job? You know, there are all of those things. So when I was writing that book, I realized, you know what, I was just fine. I was okay. I had it under control. I had direction. I had purpose, and I was just following my purpose. And when you follow your purpose, everything ends up working well. And that just made me proud of myself. Before that, there were all of those emotional episodes where you are not really sure. But now looking back, I'm very happy I went through this path because it has made me who I am. And I am now able to accomplish even bigger, better things that I can't talk about right now on the show. But all of those are because of what I have gone through. So mostly that's what that activity revealed to me about myself.
Okay. And what role do you feel uh, the support from your family and your friends played uh, during times when your business wasn't doing so well?
For those that helped, uh, I think their help in whichever way, even if it's just sending a 20 kwacha for me to go and see a client, you know, that help went a long way. You can't make it. There is no self-made person. Yeah, you're going to do the suffering alone. Obviously, no one will suffer on your behalf. You're going to feel the pain on your own. But there's that extra support, that unseen support, that if you don't have that, things are not going to work. So there were those people that would send me a 50 kwacha for a taxi. I remember one time going to visit a friend. He didn't know I was there to eat in Shima. Okay, but oh,
Yeah.
bro, I haven't seen you in a long time. I've come to visit you, but I didn't have food at home. Okay, there wasn't any money. Business wasn't making money. I went, I had my Shima, and he accommodated me. I went back home. So those are the things that I remember. I remember such friends. Yeah, and I think when it comes to family, obviously, in the beginning, many won't understand, but I think the patience, that thing where maybe they give you space, even just for a year or 2 years to sort out your stuff. I think that's one way in which they supported, and that also is not something one can take for granted.
Okay. And obviously, as an entrepreneur, it is important to build relationships or networks that are able to give you referrals or leads. How have you approached networking over the past 9 years? And would you say it has worked for your business?
I'm a bit controversial
Okay.
when it comes to the topic of networking.
Mm-hmm.
In that, many people want to substitute marketing for networking. A business must thrive on strangers, on people you don't know. For example, people don't go to ShopRite because they know the owner of ShopRite, they are connected to the owner of ShopRite. They just go there because ShopRite has what they need. So I think people must prioritize, entrepreneurs must prioritize, honing their marketing and sales skill. Because the people who are going to save your business and uplift your business are strangers, the customers who are coming to you because you have the best product. Your customer service is very, very good, and your marketing is on point. It doesn't matter if you have got 50 enemies out there, it doesn't matter if you don't even have any friends. But if your marketing is on point, your product is on point, your business is going to thrive. Because just one customer, or even five, that get to hear about your product and then they try it and then they get satisfaction from that, that is going to spread in terms of word of mouth, and that is going to sustain your business. So I think for us, that is what has really worked a lot for us. But I will say in the beginning, like I said, there was that first deal, and a few people who rooted for us for that were people that we knew at CBU, for example. Those played their role. So I can't really say networking is not important. It is very important, but it should not be your backbone. You should not base your existence on networking. You should base your existence on good marketing. But again, you should not neglect networking. Networking is very, very good, but most of your energy must be on marketing.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think I can relate to that personally. I think whatever business venture that I have tried to do in the beginning, getting friends, family to buy has helped to just build that portfolio of work that I can show that, okay, I've been able to do this. But after that, if I mess it up, I'm on my own. Okay, like I have to continue to deliver quality, and that is what will bring new customers. I mean, your friends, family, or networks, that's such a small niche. You can't depend on that for if you want your business to grow. Maybe to survive, yeah, but for it to thrive, you need to create new markets, new niches, and you only do that by doing a great job and by selling yourself out there. So I sort of agree that we shouldn't become overly reliant on the networks that we've built, but just make sure that we deliver quality and we sell or market our products. Yeah.
I agree with you, and I'm happy I didn't catch an argument with you on that matter, because
No, because I see also that networking seems to be trending. with everything. It's like people these days are even feeling discouraged to go into certain businesses to apply for jobs because they feel that networking has become the only thing. Like if you don't know someone, then you can't do. But trust me, knowing someone can only get you into certain opportunities. Even after that, what do you continue to do? Because even if you get the job or you get the deal, that's one job or one deal. You need to keep growing, right? And for you to keep growing, that's on you, on your performance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think we really need to not place everything on the networks and on the connections. They are good, but at some point you have to deliver. You have to do the work.
You are very wise.
Thank you. Now coming to um wisdom. What's one hard, wise truth about entrepreneurship that nobody prepared you for?
I think that would be about money.
Okay.
There's anyway. I know it's not supposed to come from me because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm supposed to be promoting entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship is not the only way to make money. You know what? If you want money, if you're just looking for money,
Mm.
there are so many ways that are going to get you quick money. There are so many ways that are going to sort out your income deficiencies. For example, I mean, people are dancing on TikTok. For example, people are dancing on TikTok.
Yeah.
People have got different side hustles,
Yeah.
and even for example, in Zambia, many people have found a way to make even their full-time job their side hustle.
Yeah.
People are working in banks and they're getting tips.
Yeah.
Yeah, people in uniform are on the road and they've made, anyway, stopping cars is a side hustle. And
Let's not get into
yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 okay, but you get the point, right?
Yes.
So entrepreneurship is I think is a long cut to making money.
Okay.
Yes, it takes a lot of time for you to
Yeah.
start seeing the money consistently.
Yeah.
And while you're holding the money, say this is my money. I'm not owing 50 people money. I can spend this money without feeling guilty that I haven't paid these people that I owe. So that is one thing. And again, even when you start making money as an entrepreneur,
Mm.
you need to have a profit mindset, what I would call a profit mindset, not a revenue mindset. There are many people that have this revenue mindset. They're always boasting, we made 1 million, we made 2 million, but that's revenue. And when you deduct your cost of sales, you deduct your wages, you deduct your taxes, you deduct all of those things from the 1 million, you end up having an 80,000 kwacha. That's your profit. That's the money you should brag about. Because if you have a revenue mindset and you get that 1 million and you think it's yours, and you buy an expensive car, you're going to end up owing your suppliers, you end up owing rentals, you end up owing your workers, and you realize, you start asking yourself, why am I in debt? But when you have a profit mindset, you're going to be aware to say, oh, from this 1 million, my only money is 80,000 kwacha. And this is the money that I'm supposed to brag about. And if I am to buy a car cash, that's the kind of car I'm supposed to be driving. And that is going to make you stay away from trouble and to stay away from unnecessary debt. And it's going to help you build slowly. And whatever you own will be yours because you have built from profits. So there are many people that have got sand castles, they have all of these things, but behind that there's a pile of debt. There's a pile of a lot of things that have not paid for because they used other people's money because of the revenue mindset, thinking it was their money. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the hard truth about entrepreneurship is that it takes long to start making money. And even when the money starts coming in, you need to have that profit mindset. So in other words, you need to be very, very modest. You need to be very modest. And why you're going into entrepreneurship should be more than just money. It's either it's because you want to prove a point, or because you feel it's your calling, or because you feel it's the lifestyle that suits your personality, for example, and all of these other reasons. But if you just say,
Yeah.
I want to make money, please, there are a lot of other things you can do, and you're going to be very happy. You're going to get your money.
Okay. And so, if you look back at your journey, what's one thing you would have done differently?
I would have followed demand. So even
Okay.
in my book, From Concept to Company, that's the first chapter. The first chapter talks about demand. Demand is what sustains a business. Not everything can become a business, just like not everything can become food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of all the things that are edible to different creatures in the world, only maybe 1% of that is edible to human beings. It's the same thing with business. Of all the things that you're capable of doing as an activity, only a small percentage of that can be worth the money. And that business must be based on that. So it's not about you being proficient at ancient German poetry and you say, oh, because I love ancient German poetry, I'm going to start a business on that. It's going to, obviously going to fail because there isn't a lot of demand on that. So you need to have that, there has to be that base demand, that base traction already. So I wish I, I had that mentality initially. But right now, maybe I would be a multi-millionaire. You know, I do have some money. I'm not broke, but I would have had much more money if I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, when you look at your journey with how you had times when you had low moments, how did you build that mental resiliency? How did you not give into depression, anxiety, or quit? What helped you stay mentally strong in those seasons where you could have given up on your idea and just said, let me just go back into the job market and look for a job?
I think many people underestimate the power of faith. Faith is one big ingredient that can make you, withstand anything. So I think I was, infected by this great faith. For
Mm.
me, I was very convinced. I had no doubt. No matter what was happening to me, I was like, this is going to work out. I'm going to make it. Yeah.
Okay.
So no matter what happened, it was just there. You know what? I'm going to make that. I just had this great sense of belief. So I think many people must cultivate that
Yeah.
because if you don't have that, nothing is going to work out. So that is one thing that people should have just from the beginning. Yeah. Tough times will come, but if you have faith, that thing that you're pushing may not work out, but it will turn out to become something else and it will lead to something else. And eventually you arrive at a place where you are happy. You may not get what you want, but you will get happiness. And that's what we are all chasing ultimately.
Okay. So, as you have been building your business, you've been working with people. Do you have a team that you work with?
Yes, yes, yes. I do have a team. I do have people that work for us, work for my company, not me in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that separation, and we've worked with a lot of people over the years. Some
Yeah.
that have taught us a lot of lessons,
Yeah.
and some that have stuck with us.
Yeah. So, what how has your experience with the teams that you have worked with over the years shaped how you build teams today for your business?
So one thing that people don't understand
Mm.
is that building teams is is a separate, very, very, intricate discipline on its own. People go to university for 4 years or 5 years to become human resource experts. So one mistake that we made was assuming, it's just about hiring people. I know John. John, can you come and work for us? And eventually, you know what? You end up hiring the wrong people. People eventually steal from you. People steal equipment that has happened before. And all of those different dramatic episodes. So that opened our eyes to say, you know what? This is something that you need to hiring people is is a very detailed discipline. So we have to read about human resource management. We have to read about hiring. We have to um, take tutorials and online courses. For example, I enrolled for an MBA later on, and all of those things. So that has made us to up our game, our skill in that area, and it has made us to understand people better. And by hiring the right people, that has actually helped our business. So yeah, so the area lack of growth and all of those things, we can't attribute it to the incompetent people.
Yeah.
We attribute it to ourselves, because we are the ones who hired the incompetent people, because we were incompetent in hiring.
Okay. Okay. So I guess you've improved the level of detail for your hiring process.
Everything.
Okay.
We have understood why contracts are important.
Yeah.
Eventually you have a cleaner that comes and goes to the labor office and says, you know what, these people are supposed to be paying me 6,000 kwacha. And then we're like, no, this one's supposed to be paid 1,500. And then they say, where's the contract? And I'm like, hey, you didn't give
Yeah.
her a contract.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
nowhere to base our argument. There are all of those issues. So it's not just about hiring, it's about contracts, it's about job descriptions, it's about all of these employee relations, NAPS, and all of those
Yeah.
things. It's a big field on its own. So it
Okay.
requires you not to just sit and wait and all of those things. You have to be very, very involved. You have to um, um, elevate your skill in those areas.
Okay. And so, where do you see your business in the next 5 to 10 years? What's your vision for this brand that you have built for yourself?
So, as I explained initially, we got into this line of work by accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, by pivoting from what we wanted to do initially.
Yeah.
So as partners, I think we have dreams. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have dreams. We have things that we think about to say, you know what, if this worked out, we would have done this. So it is something that we would call a circumstantial business that ended up succeeding. So we do have other plans. We do have things that we would want to do. There are things that I'm actually working on right now in the background, for example. Yeah,
Okay.
I might review later on, and they're quite advancing and doing well. So eventually, would be happy to, for example, um, make the see the business save a much bigger, a much more regional market, for example, and become a pioneer in innovation in the same field. So that would really make us proud, and I would also be happy, for example, if it went into the hands of other owners. I think would want to hand over a company to those people that has attained all of those levels, that international status, and having patents. There are certain things. There are certain things that innovations and inventions that we have actually come up with while running the business. We have got that intellectual property. So all of those things make us proud, and we would want to continue pioneering in that direction.
Okay. That's really amazing. And I think I have learned quite a lot from our conversation today. And in closing, when you look ahead on a personal level, not as your business, what kind of business, what kind of impact, sorry, do you hope that your story will have on the next generation of entrepreneurs?
I'm a very patriotic person. I love my country, Zambia. I love Africa. And because I am patriotic and I love where I come from, I don't love the state in which Africa or Zambia is in.
Yeah.
So things can only change when many more people take action, when we have more entrepreneurs starting businesses, when we have more people in jobs starting side hustles, when we have people in jobs doing the best that they can do in their jobs. We all have to be productive in some way. And that is why I'm very, very passionate about sharing tips and nuggets and stories in these lines, because I would want to see people do better. I would want the next Silicon Valley to be here in Zambia. And if somebody can, be in such a podcast, maybe this same podcast, and say, you know what, I listened to Harrison's message during the podcast, or I read his book, and this inspired me, and that is why I'm where I am. I think that would be something that I would be very, very proud of.
Okay. And also, I'm sure with the books that you have been able to author, is that you have put in those lessons, and entrepreneurs can read and learn and not make the same mistakes that you would have made in the early days of your journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially the last one, from
Yeah.
concept to company, how to start and grow a business organically.
Okay. So, how can people get that book?
So that book is available in Book World and on Amazon.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Harrison.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, and to the people who are watching us on our YouTube channel, we request that if you are interested in getting the book, you can have a look in Book World. And also, don't forget to follow Harrison on his social media pages. We will try and include links on the description um, so that you are able to follow him and learn more lessons on entrepreneurship that he shares on his pages. From us at the Money and People podcast, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bye.